Right, how are you all doing? I think it's been a week. 1 week of using the PinePhone as my daily driver smartphone. I must confess though, this week hasn't been entirely PinePhone for one reason or another, but for the most part, I've got plenty of use out of this as a phone. I do most of my stuff at a PC anyway, and well, the reason it wasn't so much this was because I fell into old habits. What, mate? Got chatting to a mate the other day, and I've put way more time into Quake and Unreal Tournament than anyone really should. So, PinePhone, whilst it's here, hasn't been a focus. I mean, realistically, a device shouldn't be a focus, but yeah, in the last week, discovered a few things, but I'm going to be going over a lot of the issues that I've had in previous videos since the start of February or thereabouts, when I started making other videos about the PinePhone. I made a couple talking about some bits and bobs about it, and I covered some issues, but I want to go over a few things first, comments, and then just one that will kind of prefix to the rest of the video. But so far, it's going pretty solid. Now, going over the comments on the video, it's going to be a bit awkward because I can't seem to access all my comments. They seem to have just disappeared, or they've been scattered around different places, and I'm not entirely sure where they came from. I've got them, but you know, here's the thing. So I understand. First comment from George was a bit of a troll. It was around April Fool's, and he says, "Can I install Android on the PinePhone?" I replied on the second, yeah, you can. There is a build of Android for the PinePhone, although it's probably in worse of a state than any of the distros available for the PinePhone. And someone else actually commented, yeah, that's true, there is a version of Android for the PinePhone, just it kind of sucks. Like, you can't actually do anything with it. Android boots, you just can't do anything with it. And even though it was a joke comment, I had to reply and say that realistically, looking at the state of Android and Linux on this device has made me appreciate the amount of work that goes into open source devices that much more. Because you can't just take a generic thing and slap it onto any device you feel like, because there are just so many different hardware variables out there. Just imagine the sheer amount of work needed to just make something like this work. It's insane. I appreciate it a lot more. Hugh White says, as long as it can text and call and as a phone with a working browser to add to it, using it as a daily driver would be pretty easy. Yes, that's true, and that's how I'm going about it. But there are a few bugs, and I'll get to those. Just remember, I'm going to mention the bugs, so thanks for the comment. Land Rider says, as long as Signal can be used on a phone like this as a daily driver, that's all that matters. Signal, if you're talking cellular signal, works. If you're talking Signal as in the messaging app, no. I think you can use Axolotl. Is that a thing, Axolotl? I've probably mispronounced that. That's a thing on here, but no, I haven't been able to get it to work. But as a phone, it works. Thank you for the comment. Harry comments, thanks for doing this. Bet there's plenty holding out until common opinion is that it's stable and usable. Very much hoping this will be by the end of 2021. I hope so too. As an aside, whether by chance or artistic inspiration, your lighting is superb. Thank you. With a sepia tinge to it. Not today. Trying to do this as cheaply as possible. I like the way it looks. I've even set the white balance to make it look like this. So, you know, Thank you. But yeah, I'm really hoping this becomes kind of totally daily driver ready by end of 2021. That might be a bit of a stretch, but as a proof of, I mean, this is already as a proof of concept pretty awesome and very close. I think. We also got a comment from, I'm going to say Lucas. One of the people behind the project here, make sure to pop by the chat to let us know how it goes. Have fun. I will. I plan to. Thanks for checking out the video. Nice bit of kit. Although I have a complaint, but I'll get to that in a minute. Sorry, I just want to go over the comments because I got quite a few, and it's nice to acknowledge what people are saying, what people are thinking. In my last video, I asked what the pogo pins on the back, so underneath the cover, there's a series of pogo pins on here. Wasn't entirely sure what they were for, and I asked that if anyone knew, let me know. And so Gregory Smith has left a comment saying the pogo pins are there so that you can attach various accessories to the phone. One guy has used them to attach an infrared camera. That's really cool. Another person has attached a fingerprint reader. They are now working on incorporating his fingerprint reader for an official release of an optional back cover with fingerprint reader. They also published the STL file for the back cover so you can customize and 3D print your own back cover. That's cool. I wish I had a 3D printer. Someone has already created a back cover with a small sliding door to make the dip switches accessible without removing the rear cover. So the phone also has dip switches to disable certain hardware on the board, the cameras, the microphones, the modems, Wi-Fi, cellular, Bluetooth and all that, just so that if you are being overly security conscious, you can just turn off individual things. Like let's say, for example, you don't like the idea of having a camera accessible all the time, or for someone else to have access to a camera all the time. People tend to get like security shutters and things for their web cameras and that. Same kind of policy, really. You can disconnect the hardware from the board, like by flipping a switch. Not disconnect the hardware from the board, but you can physically deactivate that hardware by flicking a switch on the back of the phone. But to do that, you have to take off the back case. The idea that someone is going to 3D print a rear case that will allow you to access those dip switches is cool. I'm hoping that in another revision of the PinePhone, they might make those dip switches a little bit bigger though, because they are pretty pin fiddly. And I've got really bad eyes, so unless I'm sat if you've got a pin, they're really easy to get to, but reading the little sticker they've got to tell you which one's which is a little flaky for me. But thank you for the comment, Greg. That's really nice to know. I did also hear that there was potential of a sliding keyboard attachment at some point, so that you'd have like one of those PDA dealios on the PinePhone. I don't know how true that is, but that would be very cool to see. Got a comment saying that I'm just going to call you Zer or X, whichever. I'm going to buy one as well as a replacement for my Huawei can't speak, P30 Pro. Such a cool project. It is. And that's one of the things that I really like about it. Really neat project. The idea for me that I can have a full-blown Linux computer, albeit ARM, in my pocket and then hook it up to a television with a keyboard and mouse. I mean, I've got buckets full of PCs just sat around here. The idea that I could have an all-in-one and just go and hook it up, fantastic. I mean, I carry around laptops and small computers, Raspberry Pis, A through 4s, zeros through 4s, just in case I want to, SSH into something, do some stuff on the terminal or whatever. I know I could do some of that on a smartphone, or a lot of stuff like that on a smartphone, but I like to have the idea that my phone's going to be able to do all that is cool. The Androidy stuff, as I've mentioned before, one of my beefs with a lot of modern Android phones, with the exception of Samsung, although I hate Samsung, is that you can't hook them up to a TV, and you used to be able to. Was it an MHL adapter, which was micro USB to HDMI? That used to be a thing. Not so much anymore. They've gimped the video out. Yeah, all these phones have USB-C on them. It's one of the things I really like about this. Video out. Really good. It looks like a Felipe, but it's, I'm going to say Philip. Been using my PinePhone as a daily driver for months, or for a month. I could keep using it if it didn't have issues with going into deep sleep mode and not coming back. No mobile data, just phone signal and no notifications if you're not running the apps in the background. By the way, I have Mobian on my phone, so far one of the best I've tested. Okay, nice to know. I will confirm, mine also has the deep sleep thing. Just sometimes I could be listening to tunes and I want to get the screen back on or whatever, and just sometimes it won't come back up. You'll see the backlight come on, it won't come on. Only way to really sort that out. It's hard reset. I'm forgetting which things I said I was going to mention later on in the video, but that was probably one of the issues that I've been having that kind of irks me. Will be cool to see any future iterations. Very cool idea. It seems very difficult to use as a primary at the moment, but has potential for the future, I think. Also, you must be a masochist to use this as your primary for a whole month. Thank you, Andrew. A little bit. A little bit. I just got another comment, as we're recording, from Reloaded. I did March on Manjaro Fosh. It does everything I need it to do, so I can't complain, honestly. I'll get to that. I agree. Now, going back just quickly, I'm using Manjaro Plasma Edition because that's the distro that's going to be rolling out with these phones as of the beta edition. If you really want things to work, though, go with Fosh. I'm well chuffed to see that there are people actually out there looking to get PinePhones. I'm sure there are more that people actually saying, hey, yo, I'm ordering one, or I'm going to get one, or I'm really thinking of getting one. Really glad to see that this is actually picking up a bit of steam. So I have to preface this with, I am not going to tell you how to fix problems. I am going to be looking at this point as someone who is just using the phone as a phone, not as someone who is going to be hacking something together to fix something. That might seem a little silly to say, given that this is beta hardware. Well, why aren't you looking at this and looking at how to fix certain issues? Because realistically, what I want to do is find stuff that works for people, developers and normies, so that more people can get this thing in their hands and use it, rather than kind of like freaking out and going, or buying it and going, I'll work on it this weekend, like actual software developers. I ain't. I'm a tinkerer, but you know, the idea that if I can get this, if I can discover some things that will make it more usable as a daily driver right the now, to encourage people to take it with them, so that maybe some of those projects that would have been saved for the weekend kind of get fast-tracked. Like, actually, you know what? I'm sat at the office. I'm going to hook up my PinePhone on my downtime and tinker away. Or, you know, something happens whilst you've got it with you. And you're like, actually, you know what? I can make that better. Something to encourage you to look at this thing more and work things out. Experience it. Because that's a really great way to slow down a project by not having it with you. I could be downloading source. I could be tweaking a few things, recompiling things, but for now, for the next month, that's a little bit beyond the scope of what I'm trying to do. Eventually, I will start fiddling with things, tweaking things and all that, and you know, see where we can take it, but for now, not so much. I can tell you a few little tricks, but I'm not going to show you. Again, beyond the scope of what's going on here. But I am excited to see development push forwards and where people are taking it and where other people like myself who are just kind of dicking around with it, what they're doing with it. I'll tell you now, though, if I could get Quake running on that whilst connected to my telly, fantastic. Not likely to happen at this point. Someone's probably already done it, but it'd be amazing. Just amazing. Quake 3 Arena, I'd be gone. I'd no life. I'd say, right, PinePhone's done. I can make and receive calls. I can send texts. Screw the web browser, because, I've got Quake and Zork. Ooh, that's something I should try. Text adventure. For anyone that's not entirely like, what? Text adventure. Walk north. pick up whatever punch thing, that kind of groove, basic text parser and all that. So to get this into more pockets, okay, as I say, I'm using Manjaro Plasma. As it stands, I don't think Manjaro Plasma is the most usable representation of what the PinePhone is at the moment. I think, personally, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, Manjaro Phosh is. But that's not what's being shipped with the phone. But, I mean, because there've been plenty of updates, by the way, every single day, updates for this phone. But so far, I mean, I still cannot reliably get the convergence thing working, where you plug it into your phone and run it to your telly and do whatever. That still isn't a thing for me on Plasma. However, on Phosh, it seems to work a lot better. I'm just saying, there's quite a few issues I have with KDE on the PinePhone. So, can I start with my adventures into music on the PinePhone, listening to music, using this as a more mainstay device? A lot of people use their phones for cameras, music, and then internet text and all that kind of stuff. I said I was going to use Bluetooth on the PinePhone because Linux and Bluetooth don't always play nice. I can say to you, fucking works great on the PinePhone. Great with some asterisks, I suppose. So, to start with, on Plasma, if anyone's wondering why I'm doing that, is to reset the screen, because sometimes like things don't render on the screen properly. So like this would have rendered up here and nothing would be typable. So if you kind of go like that and like that, it will reset everything on the screen. The PinePhone comes with Wave, and I don't like it for an audio player. I just don't like it. It doesn't organize things very well by tags. So if I look for an artist and, I don't know, example, and this isn't an actual example, but let's say I'm looking for something by the band Death. I click Death, and let's say there's another, there's one of the songs in an album by Death has another person working on it, so another artist. There are various artists on that thing. It will then separate how it's organising the things. Like some of the songs will just kind of disappear out of an album. Like, oh no, it's not on the Death version. It's on. You have to go to this artist and this artist. Or I've got a couple of artists on here that it just kind of spews up as 2 or 3 times. I don't like the way it works either. Wave licks balls as it stands, but out of the box, I guess fine. My personal recommendation, if you want to listen to tunes, and I've used, what have we've tried? We've tried Audacious. Nope. Clementine, definitely not. Those mainly for scaling issues, but there is a trick you can do to kind of fix phone scaling on apps, but not necessarily recommended at this point. I'll get to it. I would recommend Lollipop if you're going to listen to tunes on your PinePhone. It organises albums and artists pretty cleanly. The interface is nice and clean. It fits quite nice on the phone. If you plug it in for convergence, it works. And the reason I'd say go with Lollipop is what is installed on pretty much every other PinePhone distro. So it works. Like if on any other like Phosh thing, like Manjaro Phosh has Lollipop, I believe, by default. The post-market OS, Lollipop. So as it stands, go Lollipop. The worst thing with Lollipop is that sometimes when you are scrolling, it will get a bit kind of glitchy because it's trying to preview a play all artists thing at the top. Realistically, not a huge problem, but I mean, it's a thing. If you're using Bluetooth as well, understand that sometimes you'll have to press an input on your headset maybe once or twice to get it to register. So I've found that sometimes initially skipping tracks was a one-time press. Now I have to do it twice. Some things, like if I want to skip back, or so if I want to if I want to go rewind a track, press and hold it. If I want to go back, I have to literally press like 2 or 3 times to get it to actually skip back to a previous track. Going forwards isn't so much of a problem, but rewinding, I have to press it multiple times. Pausing, again, I have to hit the pause twice for it to pause. Not a huge issue. I think that's more to actually having to wake the phone than anything else. Just a quick thought, just something that has to be said. If you're using Bluetooth and you find, I think it might have actually happened as well when I had wired headphones hooked up. If at any time your device seems to drop off of Wi-Fi and you get a notification come up, I've found that not all the time, sometimes maybe, I don't know, because now I've just got into the habit of doing this thing. Your music stops playing. Things just pause when, like, I regularly just kind of disconnect from my Wi-Fi or whatever and just goes, nope, nothing, and then notification, and then everything's stopped. Or my headphones, I'm just kind of, wandering along, getting my groove on, and starts kind of dropping out, and I'm like, but the thing's right here. Look, I've practically got the phone pressed up against my headphones. Turn off Wi-Fi. Just turn off Wi-Fi. That seems to help a great deal with stability. I don't know if maybe that's a hardware thing, the way the antennas are set up, but just... there's probably something they can fix with software. There's probably software updates going right now, maybe, possibly, I don't know. I'm not going to comment, I don't know. But if you are having issues, just try that. Just try turning off your Wi-Fi. Just, and then you might get somewhat better Bluetooth performance, and things don't just seem to pause when you drop off Wi-Fi. As long as you don't live in a Faraday cage like I do, maybe not a huge problem. But for listening to tunes, totally go with Lollipop. And a few people have actually told me that it's maybe possible to do Spotify on this. Okay, it says here missing command YouTube DL, but someone has actually said to me that it's maybe possible to get Spotify running on Lollipop. Don't know how true that is, but it's, if you're going to listen to tunes, Lollipop has worked great. I've got a load of music on here in OGG formats. I've got some MP3 as well dotted about, I think. That's what I've been using for audiobooks and stuff like that. It's been pretty sound. More apps work out of the box on Phosh distros, though. So that leads me to email. I can't find one. Email that works just is not a thing. I mean, they work, but they don't work. So one of the better ones, which I believe is on Manjaro Phosh, is Geary. So let that load up. I mean, you're not really going to be able to see it, but look, it's off the screen. Swing it around that way. It's still not really on the screen. That is a scaling issue, but funny enough, if you install Manjaro Phosh, Geary works fine. So now there's a variable you can change, which again I'm not going to show you how. Just look it up. There is a universal variable called global scale to fit, scale to fit is the variable. Set it to true, or launch with that it will scale stuff to the screen. Apparently, the reason why the universal global scale to fit hasn't been applied is really down to the fact that developers of the operating systems would rather have developers of the apps do things with their binaries, with their applications, to make them work and optimize them for a phone, rather than kind of doing a universal hack to make them work, which is going to be janky at best. So I understand that and I agree with that. But for if email's your groove, you're either going to be doing it in the browser, or it's not going to work too great on the KDE. So emails a largely been a no-go for me. I've tried. What was it I've tried? Like I said, I've tried Geary, Evolution, Thunderbird. Wasn't there's not a thing. But if you install some of those on other PinePhone distros, they work the fine. If you are literally looking for an out of the box Go deal, Manjaro Flash. I've got to say that again. I cannot comment at this point on the cameras because I have a fault with my PinePhone, or at least I believe it to be a fault with my PinePhone. I've mentioned it in a previous video. My back camera doesn't work. It just doesn't work. If you try to launch with the back camera, there's an app on here called Megapixels which controls your camera. If I launch it now, I don't know if you could hear that little pop. It's trying to activate my back camera. It can't do it. The front camera does work, but I cannot get that back camera to work. Even if I flip it and flip it and flip it, it won't the go. I really wish I could get hold of either another PinePhone with a working camera, because I don't know why it broke, or another camera board to put in here, because I would like to be able to say that I've taken some photos with my PinePhone. Sounds silly, but I mean, you're not going to be taking any beautiful... There you go, there's the thing where it's... Just do that, do that, do that, and it goes. Okay, so I'd like to be able to say that I can take some pictures from my PinePhone. As it stands, I can't. When people say that you've got a functioning browser and you can send texts and you can make calls, therefore it should be easy, it's usable, no! Another thing that really irks me at the moment with the PinePhone is the on-screen keyboard. Especially in KDE, I have found on many occasions a bug that I have mentioned previously, that just sometimes the keyboard doesn't work. It just stops responding to input completely. Or you press to type and the letter will appear and then delete itself. You put in a number, it seems to stick. You put in another character, it will just delete it straight out afterwards. So if you're going to a website to log in, you can't. If you then connect up a USB-C keyboard or Bluetooth keyboard, that will work, but the on-screen keyboard will not. At first, I thought it was just something that I was doing in Angelfish, because Angelfish is the browser. I was using Angelfish to save a containerized version of a website to the phone. So like making a web app kind of thing. Because I like to use, I've mainly been kind of sticking to more open platforms with using the PinePhone, so I've not really used Facebook that much over this period. I've not really used... Oh, that's going to play an audio clip. Shush. Close. You know, I've avoided Facebook. I've avoided Instagram. I've posted some things to PixelFed, even as a joke. Mastodon and stuff like that. I've been using those, and I tried to make it so you can go to Mastodon and it loads up my feed, and then you come up to I'm just going to close it like an idiot. There we go. Is it there? Down at the bottom, and you can say to add to the home screen, and that will add your saved page to here, to your app drawer. And when you open it, every single time the keyboard would fail. It would be there, I would be tapping, and it would just fail. So I couldn't use any of those kind of saved, instanced, web appy websites, which would have been fantastic for me, so that I don't have to keep having them loaded up in tabs on Angelfish. I mean, that's all I've got going at the moment. So just Angelfish. I have some tabs. I've got my PixelFed account logged in. Mastodon is logged in, and I just alternate between because I can't save them. I had thought it was only happening in Angelfish, but when I tried to log into Nextcloud on the device through the accounts page, it did it there too. So it doesn't seem to be happening to everyone, so your mileage may vary, but for me, the keyboard breaking does my nutting. And it doesn't seem to be universal either, because sometimes your keyboard will then work in other things and not in the thing that it originally crashed in, and other times things that it would have worked in, it just doesn't work in either. Only way that I can realistically seem to fix it is by just hard powering down the phone and powering it back up again. If you were to then do, as I say, like open up an Angelfish saved page, it would just screw the pooch again and not work. It's very, very, very annoying, and probably one of the more annoying things I've found with this phone, other than the broken back camera, but that's a hardware issue, not a software issue, and it's not universal. I reckon it is probably just mine, because the world hates me. Also, auto-switching audio, seeing as I've been using Bluetooth and I have tried headphones on here, early on, if I remember correctly, auto-switching audio was not a thing. You would actually have to manually say, like, hey, I've plugged in my headphones, stop playing it through the speaker, which is atrocious anyway. It's not bad, I mean, it's serviceable, but, you know, you'd have to manually change it. Auto-switching audio between Bluetooth and the headphone jack and all that, it works the fine. Okay, so you'll be all right there. I really, really, really like the phone. There's just some annoying little things that I can't get around as yet. As I said, that keyboard thing has got to be fixed, and the guys behind Manjaro KDE Plasma, like, get on that convergence thing, please. Please get it sorted. And maybe the scalability for some of these apps, because it's odd that it works on Manjaro Phosh, not Manjaro KDE. I'm assuming they're pulling apps. Well, they can't. I don't actually think they are pulling apps from the same repos. I'm thinking about it now, because or was that when I tried Mobian, that just some apps that were on one weren't on the other? But I mean, it's Linux. There are ways you can get that stuff on there, but again, outside of the scope of this video. Serviceable. It's serviceable. It's usable, with some quirks. And let's be fair, what machine do you own that doesn't have quirks? If you tell me all of your hardware works flawlessly, I will call you a damned liar, because it's not true. This machine that I'm recording this video on right now, today, I booted into Windows for the first time in a million years, blue screened on me. Tried to do some stuff in Linux today, wasn't entirely happy with me. My Pixel decided that it was going to crap the bed earlier today for whatever, like, just sometimes, you know, when I'm having to rotate this to get things to render in properly. Same kind of groove had happened on this. So it's not... Software has bugs. All software bugs out from time to time. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not exclusive to this. It's just more frequent. I'm not going to hold it against it. Treat this phone, as I've said many a time before, like an old school iPhone before they started to let you install apps on it. Do more stuff in the browser. If all you need is you know, oh, that's another thing that kind of annoys me sometimes, that it doesn't always wake when you hit the power button on the side. Just sometimes it does, and then sometimes it just kind of sits there. Again, not a huge deal. Not a huge deal, to be fair. Oh, and if your keyboard ever gets stuck, let me see if I can open something up with a keyboard on it. Okay, some people have complained that their keyboard sticks. Let's send a toot on the Mastodon. So there's my keyboard. It's there. It's kind of in the way. I don't actually know how well you can see this. Let me just Alt-Tab quickly, because it's going on for a long time. Right, just go to Y and just kind of pull down. Just pull down. Bring it back up. Just pull it down. It doesn't always work sometimes. There you go. It's kind of stuck. Just pull it. Oh, you're going to be a dick now, aren't you? Because, you know, some people have said, oh, I can't get to the icons at the bottom of the screen because the keyboard's in the way. Well, right now the keyboard's being a complete and utter bell end. Oh, I've killed it. Come on. Don't be a dick. Nope, the keyboard's not coming back up. So there you go. There's an issue right there. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of angelfish. Really not a fan. But, oh, there you go. The bottom bar has come back up. So I will just close that out. If I relaunch... Just things they're not entirely smooth, but then realistically you can't expect. You can't expect it, but I would really like to see convergence work more on this as it stands. So yeah, there you go, there's my thing again, just pull it down, you know. Oh, and I've just gone and minimised it like an idiot. Have I? No, I've just accidentally closed it because I just palmed it. What an idiot. But yeah, it just some things are a little bit wobbly. Scaling's not really a thing. But if you literally wanted daily driver material, right the now, Manjaro Fosh. I'll say it again, Manjaro Fosh. If you actually wanted to give this a go as a daily, Manjaro Fosh, but it's not the distro that comes on the phone. And I have to stress again, this will not be the phone that has the official Facebook app, that has a WhatsApp thing, or a Messenger, or an official YouTube client. Those things are not going to happen because it's Linux. You don't even have them on your desktop. You will be doing a lot of stuff in browsers or with third-party apps. Just keep it in your head that this is a Linux experience scaled to a phone. This is a desktop experience scaled to a phone. This isn't a phone trying to be a PC. This is a PC trying to be a phone. Okay, so as long as you keep that in mind, this is going to be a lot less painful. I'm really enjoying it so far. I really am. I'm wandering around listening to my tunes. I've got stacks of black metal and video game soundtracks on there. It's fantastic. The fact that I can dual boot the phone as well. One off the eMMC, one off of the SD card, or you can even multi-boot the SD card if you wanted to, is fantastic. So, I mean, I can't break it. As long as I can plug it into a computer, I can still pull things from it. If it completely dies and I'm booting off the micro SD card, I've got my data on the micro SD card. It's there. I could literally take it and put it into another PinePhone and it will work the fine. So, if you're aiming to go, again, daily driver material, and you want to go Manjaro KDE, music-wise, Lollipop. Been off Wave, Lollipop. Email, can't help you, although you could probably terminal something like Mutt or NeoMutt, whatever. But again, out of the scope of this one. That keyboard is jank. I hope they fix it. But it's all in so far. First week, good experiences. Fosh just seems to be a better experience as it stands. Another adventure when I get the ability to. This is a P8 smartwatch. It's the same kind of groove as the Pine Time. I haven't been able to get my hands on a Pine Time, which is the Pine64 guys, the PinePhone guys, smartwatch. I haven't been able to get hold of one of those as yet, but I would aim to hack one of these. I say hack, it's not really a hack as such. flash a custom firmware on here. There are plenty out there to get. I think I can actually run Infinitime on this, but I've got a one with a slightly funky bootloader on it, so I've been told I'll brick it if I try and flash it right now. But get something like Infinitime on here. Install. What was the? That's not the phone. Where is it? This one. And install something like Amazefish. That and this, and have a full-blown kind of Linuxy, PinePhone-y setup. You know, a smartwatch and smartphone that's running open sourcey, kind of hacked up, friendly firmware. Love it, absolutely love it. That's the end game, and the idea that at some point I'd like to be able to play Quake on my phone, but you know, it's a work in progress. It's good enough as it stands. As long as you keep your expectations in the realms of a Linux user and not an iPhone user, you're doing all right. So I've heard people are running servers right now on the PinePhone. It's a thing. It's Linux. You can do it. If you're willing to fiddle with it and do some jiggery pokery on it, you can do a lot of stuff on that phone. Just, it's not a particularly polished experience for those who don't want to fiddle fuck ass around with it. Let's see how things go next week. Week the 2. I don't know what I'm going to say in the next one. I imagine it's going to be more of the same. That I'm still enjoying it. That hopefully some apps have been updated to do the old scaly thing. Maybe I'll find some other stuff that works. Just, yeah. It's for me so far. It's usable, and I'm comfortable with it. I think the worst bug probably is not even the deep sleep. It's that damned keyboard. The fact that keyboard stops working a lot of the time, it just does my head in. So, anyway, I hope you're all good. If you've sat through this 27-minute... Well, it's 27 on this section, so it'll be about 35 minutes. If you've got through this video... No, that'd be longer than that. It'd be like closer to 40 minutes at this point. Scaz, do maths, mate. 45-minute video. What is the thing you're most looking forward to being able to do when that thing's ready for prime time? What is it you really want to see it be able to do? Do you really want it to be like an Android phone or an iPhone? Or are you just really psyched to be able, like I am, to be able to have a full-blown Linux distro in your back pocket? Because I do carry around a Raspberry Pi so that I always have a full-fat Linux distro. I do not like using smartphones for everything. I'm not like, if you say to me, Scaz, I'm going to send you a message on insert thing here, Facebook, WhatsApp, Signal, or what, even Signal Messenger, which is effectively a text platform, I say stuff that. I will get my notifications on my phone, whatever phone it is. I will not type a reply to you. I will come back to my PC where I have desktop apps installed, and I will type on that. I don't like typing on a phone. I don't like doing a lot of things on a phone. This is really more of a consumption device. If I want to read something, like quickly check something to read something, listen to a few tunes, maybe snap a photograph or whatever. But for actual like sit down, have a conversation typing, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to do that on my phone. Like, I'll send you an SMS, a text message to say, fuck mate, I'm on my way back, or I'm doing this, whatever, I'll talk to you in a bit. Or I'll make a quick phone call. I'm not the kind of guy that sits there on my phone all day. Like, daily usage of even an Android phone or an iPhone is pretty low. I understand that I'm not the kind of guy, I'm not average use case of a phone user. But I think more people who buy the PinePhone would be like me, who would prefer to use a computer than one of these. So the idea of actually having something that you could plug into a TV or whatever and bust out a keyboard or something and be able to have your full-blown PC experience without having to drag your PC about, you know, I'm looking forward to. Fuck man, give me. You're not going to get TeamSpeak on here, so maybe Mumble some way to use Discord. IRC. I mean, I think IRC is already a thing. You've got XChat on there, but proper Signal client would be nice, but maybe not likely. Once Axolotl works, maybe that'll be a thing. Yeah, I really wish that back camera worked. I'm going to stop rabbiting on. It's a usable phone. What are you looking forward to? What extra features do you want to see? What do you want to see refined? Do you want to have a back cover where you can get to your dip switches? Do you want to have fingerprint readers? Do you want to have access to those pogo pins? Do you want to have a slide out keyboard? I'd love a slide out keyboard because typing on a fucking touchscreen's turd. PinePhone's pretty good. 1 week in. I've not pulled out all my hair yet. Hope you're well. I'll see you all with a bit of luck in the next one. Please give me better convergence. Please, please, please. And Quake. The idea of being able to plug that in and whooping someone's ass and oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Just saying. I'm going to go back to play some UT. See ya.